Hello, everybody. It's Heather and Deb here, and this is Reluctantly Woo Woo episode 20. So today we're talking about a topic that would seem like it doesn't have anything to do with the holidays, because as of this recording, it's December 23rd. So we're coming up on Christmas for those who celebrate Christmas. This would seem like it doesn't have anything to do with the holidays, but in reality, it actually does in many, many ways. During the holidays, our emotions are heightened, right? And Deb and I can both attest as single women, right? There's so many feelings that come up of I should be spending the holidays, with my family, or I should have a family, right? That I'm spending it with, right? And it brings up.
I have to buy all my own presents.
Right?
I literally buy stuff and hand it to my daughter. I'm like, wrap this and put it under the tree for me.
Oh.
It's sad.
Yeah. I myself present, so yes. Yeah. So the holidays, like I said, it's all heightened, and we have these all these what ifs and the way that things should be, right? And then all of these old relationships start to pop up. We start to romanticize these relationships that we were in, of oh, what if maybe I shouldn't have, right? Because I wouldn't be alone if I were still with them.
Or in that case, they seem to all want to come find me. Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about energetic cords and what they are and how to get rid of them, how to not have them grow back, because, well, we'll dive into what they are. But this holiday season, it is actually really appropriate to talk about now, because when you think about when you have all those things that feel you pulling into somebody, like their energetic cords, and ultimately what everybody's looking for is to have freedom to feel the emotions that they want to feel, freedom from the emotions that they don't want to feel, and free of unhealthy connections from other people, so that they can be free to enjoy the holiday season. And so, we call this podcast Reluctantly Woo Woo because we are both in this, what most people would call woo woo. It's like things that are hard to believe, yet they make sense, on a deeper level of us, and they actually create changes. But we're reluctant about it because the logical mind is like, this is ridiculous. This doesn't work. And so the energetic cords are definitely something for me that I always think, this is just ridiculous. This is so wacky.
Right.
Right. But it just seems to always make sense. And so if you have somebody in your life, I know I said this in the description, but if somebody that feels like a perpetual dingleberry, it's like you just can't shake.
You always have the good words. Yeah.
My metaphors are always have to do with something to do with digestive or sex, because they work all the time.
Everybody can relate. Yeah.
Yep. So energetic cords. So before we talk about energetic cords, we have to back up and talk about who we are as humans. And this is where my reluctance comes in, right? Is that we all understand the physical body, what we see, my hands, my arms, all that kind of stuff, right? But beyond that, we have our energetic body, right? This is the stuff that makes up who we are, right? Before we were even in the physical form, we were energy, right? Energetic cords are literally what they sound like. They're cords, just like an umbilical cord, that connect two people's energy bodies together. And they are, if you imagine an umbilical cord, right, and it's giving food and nurturing from one body to another, that's what an energetic cord is. And the cords can be healthy or unhealthy. And so a healthy cord allows energy to flow smoothly between each person. And in unhealthy cords, the energy will be mostly flowing from one side, right? It's like this, just suck, this energy sucking energy.
Draining, right?
Right. Draining is life suck, right? And that energy deprivation, to the person who is taking it, right? It's like this, you use the term energy vampire, right? Mm-hmm. That's what it feels like. It's like no matter what, you're around this person, they're just sucking energy from you. right? And so when we have those negative cords, obviously we want to get rid of them. And so these cords can be between family members, they can be between friends, they can be between lovers, between coworkers, between enemies, right? They're most often felt between people that you've had a sexual connection with. Okay? So the cords can be from our gut to their gut. They can be from your heart to their heart. They can be from sexual organs to sexual organs. They can be from your gut to their heart, and vice versa. And cords can be like all different places and connections, even like brain to brain. Um, so before I jump into like the telltale signs of having them, do you have any thoughts or anything that you want to add in that I didn't cover already?
No, I think you've covered it quite well. I would just say the only thing, if this sounds like pretty esoteric and, people are like, I don't get that. I don't know. For me, like I do have like a visual of a cord, that I can see, even though obviously it's not a visual, but I think you did cover it. You can tell when there's something like a tug almost. Like I think I can physically feel them sometimes. And I think sometimes it might be that I'm the one draining it from someone else, right? Like it goes in both directions, but
Yep.
yeah, they're not all people draining you. You might be the drainer.
Right. Exactly. Oh man, I can say that I've been guilty of that in relationships.
Yeah.
I don't want to admit that, but yes. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
So we talk about what are energetic cords, right? It's just this attachment between you and somebody else. But then how do you tell when you have an energetic cord with an unhealthy energetic cord? And I will say this because you can, like, we have cords all the time with people, but they healthy ones we don't want to get rid of. Okay, we want them to be there. A couple of months ago, when my boyfriend and I had broken up, we broke up for about a month, and I had somebody doing some energy work on me and some heart wall, like shared heart wall work. And then had her check for energetic cords, and she's like, there are energetic cords between the two of you. She's like, but they're healthy, and which, it wasn't surprising to me, right? Because we broken up, there was it wasn't a contentious thing. And she's like, well, do you want me to release those? And I was like, no, like I still want to have those good cords between us, right?
Right.
But
so there's one. Could you have good and bad with the same person?
Ooh, I had never thought about that.
Yeah, I haven't either. We'll have to do some research.
Do some research. Yeah. My initial thought would be no, but yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about that.
I don't know, because I kind of think you could have, because I think there are relationships that have some dynamics that might not be healthy, but then others that are, right? So that's interesting. We'll do a follow-up.
Yeah. And is that a cord, or is that a pattern?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows? But how do you tell that you have negative energetic cords with somebody? Okay, there are a couple of different things, right? You feel like no matter what you do, you can't seem to forgive them or move on, right? It's that person, like Deb mentioned at the beginning, where it's like they just keep showing up in your life, and you're just like, come on already, like. Every girl, I'm sure guys do this too, but I can speak for girls. It's like you've broken up with somebody, you're just like started to talk to somebody else. Like you're like, okay, I'm finally ready to start dating. You start talking to somebody else, and then that person shows up. They sent you a text. Hey, just thinking of you. How you doing? Oh, right?
Yeah.
That, or if you feel like you just can't forgive that person, you're like, I just can't do it. Right? There's this negative energy that you have between the two of them. And so this leads into, I said already, it's like they find their way back into your life no matter what you do to block them from your world. You can block them from Facebook, you can block them from Instagram, their phone number, email, but no matter what, like they just keep showing up. You run into them, like something happens and they just keep showing up, right? Another telltale sign is that you have an unusually strong emotional response to the person. Meaning, even just thinking about their name, and you are energetically charged a ton. Okay? And ideally, we want to be able to think about things and be in a neutral place. And that doesn't mean then that life is boring. It just means there's space and freedom for creativity and connection. But when we have these energetic charges, this huge energetic response to a person, like that's not a healthy thing. Uh, the other one is if you dream about the person a lot, right? There may be a negative energetic connection to them. Um, what were you say what you were saying about your friend?
Yeah, yeah. So one of my closest friends, she was in a relationship for about 7 years. I mean, wasn't officially a marriage, but for all intents and purposes, essentially a marriage. And then broke up with that person. It's been a couple of years, and she's dated a few other times, and had people that she was really in love with one guy. That coronavirus screwed that one up. But anyway, point being, she's moved on from him, but yet just puzzled by the fact that she dreams about him like several times a week sometimes. And she'll be like, why do I keep having these dreams about him? Like, I don't want to be back with him. There's none of that conscious level desire. And it's not even like the forgiveness piece for her anymore, but he still keeps showing up in her dreams. So
Yeah.
that's an interesting one.
Yeah, yeah. So that can be a telltale sign that you have a negative energetic cord. And then the next one would be that you have this imaginary conversation with the person, even though you don't want anything to do with them, right? You're like, I literally like want this person out of my world. But then in your head, you're having even conversations with them about wanting them to be out of your world.
Right.
I've done this. Have you ever done this?
I have. Oh yeah, I've done that for sure. Or even, I mean, another example from my own life, as I think I was talking about this before we started recording, but somebody who I haven't talked to in a couple more than 2 years now too, who I have no desire to talk to. I don't feel any bitterness anymore. I just am like, no, there's no point in keeping you in my life. But yeah, that person randomly reached out, and then I'm like, I have been over the last few days, like, God, why would you even think you need to text me? You know? Like, I'm not going to respond to that text, but in my head, I have several times.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point, because that's how a lot of the conversations go. Is you're like, I'm going to text them that. No.
Yeah.
Maybe that there's a negative energetic cord.
Mhm.
Right. And so the last one, I'm sure there's others, but one of the other ones is that when you think of this person, you feel drained. Right? When we think about energy, right, we'd ultimately like to live life in a place where our energy feels expansive. Right. And I think about like coming on and doing this with you. I'm like, oh, I feel light and expansive about it. Like I feel good. Right. But when every time you think of that person, you just constantly feel like that your energy is just drained. Right? One, that's not a sign of a healthy relationship, and that may be a sign that there's a negative energetic cord, between y'all.
Mhm.
So those are all signs of having negative energetic cords with somebody. So what do we do about them? Like, how do we release them? So with the body code, which is the form of energy work that we do, right? The idea is that you find what needs to be released, and you set the intention, and then you run your fingers or a magnet over the governing meridian, which runs like the center line of your body on the front side and back side, and you just set the intention to release the cord. And this releases them versus cuts them. And I like that idea because cutting sometimes is like, okay, you cut the cord, just like with an umbilical cord, there's still like something there where your energy is draining out of. And so we want to be able to get rid of any energy drains. Okay.
Mhm.
And so it sounds so like this is where for me, the reluctant part comes in. It sounds so easy. Like, oh, well,
Just release it.
just release it. Like if I'm just thinking it, and like, it's, it always makes me laugh, but I know, like I was talking to the client earlier, and we had um, done some releasing, cord releasing months ago, and she's like, I don't think about that relationship where the way that I did before, and that's what we want, right? Like
Right.
make it so that it doesn't feel it. So I know that it works. I still always think it's ridiculous, but it apparently works.
Yeah.
Right. So if you have somebody who's not a body code practitioner, then or who does energy work, what you can do yourself is to imagine pulling all of your energy back into your body. Okay, because you want to get that energy that person sucking out back into you. So imagine pulling it back into yourself first. And you can literally just like sit down, put on some nice gentle music, whatever you like to do, and and meditating, or if you never have, literally just go to YouTube and like pull up a meditation.
Yeah. There's actually a lot of like ceremonies you can find on there. Yeah, I mean, I've seen different ones where like you have to light this candle and do this. I don't necessarily think you have to go through I mean, whatever, if it symbolically helps you, fine.
Right.
I don't know if that's necessary. And I kind of wanted to just touch on, maybe you were about to get there,
Mhm.
but just for everybody's reference, you don't need permission from the other person to do any of this. They don't even have to know that it's going on. So, because
Mhm.
sometimes I think people think, well, if it's a cord, do I have to call them and tell them I just cut this cord? No.
No. No, good point, and that's something I had not thought of, but that is definitely a great point. And oftentimes the other person will feel it because then they'll reach back out to you.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll talk about that in a minute, but you do not have, and this is like part of setting up boundaries in life, right? It's like, I don't need permission from somebody else to set up boundaries, to say, hey, I don't want you in my life anymore. Do you accept that? Well, like, that's the reason the negative energy is there. Is like, you have to put up that boundary. And cutting off that cord is literally just saying, no, no more. Like, I'm not allowing you to suck energy from me at all.
Yeah.
Right? So you can imagine pulling all that energy back into yourself, and then visualize pulling a cord from a socket, okay? And pull it out from both sides. Okay? And this way, it's a little bit different, like I said, than cutting it in the middle, right? Because you're just
Mhm.
pulling it out from the source, right?
Yeah.
And then I was working with somebody this morning. What we did was we had released the cord, and then we installed positive belief, like positive emotions, into that space where that energy, like, cord was.
Kind of seal it off. Yeah. I like that.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So you can literally just do that. Is sit there, imagine yourself pulling the energy back, and then imagine yourself pulling that cord out. That's something that you can do. You can also, close your eyes, use your imagination, see the other person standing in front of you a few feet away, and see that cord. And the interesting thing is, when you take the time to do this, you'll see where that cord is, whether it's like connected to your heart, to your gut, to your brain, to your sexual organs. Like, you just have that inner knowing. You're just like, oh, I know where this is.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think when I've done it, I actually, for me, like, there is a sensation, like you said, like, I can tell, like, if it's in my gut versus my heart, or yeah, I can definitely, like, feel that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And so you just notice it, and then you can, like, as silly as it sounds, right? Just use this swift, like, chopping motion, like you're chopping something down, like, and just do that 3 times, and just see the cords releasing, and your cord returning back to you, almost like, those vacuum cleaners, right?
Yes.
Right? And just see their cord returning back to them, and just see that, now you have that freedom. Okay? And so, I mean, that's as simple as it is. And again, as wackadoo as it sounds, like, there is value in it. And I see it work with people all the time. I work so much. I have so many clients who will send me list of exes. And they're like, can you check and see if there's any shared heart walls with this person and any energetic cords with this person? Right. And I'll, like, send the info back to them, and they're like, oh my gosh, they're like, that makes so much sense. Like, with the people that does come up with. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when we did this when we were working together a while ago, because the fact that you said that some were not healthy, are healthy and they're okay. There were a couple that I had put on that list, and you're like, yeah, but this one's not. You told me that, like, it's healthy. We don't need to worry about it,
Mhm.
which was interesting because it was surprising to me for a couple of them.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So you may need to do this a couple of times, right? Because, like we just said, like, that other person's like, wait a minute, like, where's my energy source going? And they're going to, like, throw it back up, like, like Spider-Man. They're like, throwing this thing back up at them, right? And because they want to see, like, is this person really serious about this? And I want to do everything I can. So, like, you talking earlier about this person reaching out to you, right? Like, they're throwing out the line, like, I'm just going to drop this line in and see if she grabs onto this hook. Right. And if you grab onto the hook, then you're literally just saying, oh, yep, I'm just going to, like, let this attach. Right. Instead of setting up boundaries, putting boundaries around yourself, and so that that cord can no longer attach.
Yeah.
And so that's where the conscious level coaching comes in, right? Of learning how to set up those boundaries, right? Some of the things that you need to do on the conscious level is, sometimes you literally actually have to change your environment. right? I mean, and I know especially right now this year, there are people who cannot get out of living situations that they're in, right? And they have to be in the same home with somebody that they don't want to be in. Right. And so if you're doing that, like you literally every day have to put up like literally just imagine the shield coming up around you. I love the idea. Just something I learned the other day was like if you're around somebody, you feel like they're just like sucking on your energy. Like when you're around them, just put your left hand over your heart and up to your shoulder, right? And it automatically puts a shield in front of your heart.
Hmm.
And it's amazing how much like you do that, like how quickly like you're like, oh, okay. Like I feel guarded. I feel safe. Right. I can do this. And so you may just need to do that when you're around people and people are like, what's wrong with your shoulder? And you're like, ah, just rest in my hand.
Yeah.
You think about when you see some people and they get around people and they're like, their arms in front of your chest and it's like, oh, you're so guarded. Well, yeah, I am because I need to be around you. You obviously don't say that, right? But like do whatever you can to physically, protect you from that person.
Right? Now I'm
Um,
self-conscious if I see people like
yeah, it's you're like, dude, why am I negative? Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you can't literally change your location, you may need to just do things like that. Imagine the shield that comes up. I went to this energy woman once years ago, and she's like, just imagine like a zipper zipping all the way up from your body all the way up. And I just thought she was silly. And I just kept doing it every day because this is when I had my bakery, and so much energy drain, of customers coming in, everybody wanting from you, and I just had to keep doing it over and over and over again, right? And then you might want to check in just every once in a while and see if that cord did get sucked in there, because for all your intentions of like, I'm not going to let them suck my energy, these things can be sneaky sometimes,
Mhm.
right? So it's literally changing your environment if you need to. Literally every single day putting up a shield around you and like, I'm not going to allow this person, to do this, and take a stand, for not allowing it back in your world. And that means changing your habits and patterns, which is on you, which is going back to what Deb and I talk about all the time, is that personal responsibility.
Mhm.
Right? You have to be personally responsible, for your interactions. Um,
Right.
And then, just checking in every once in a while to see if there are any cords, like having somebody like Deb or I doing some energy work and checking in, because they get in there sometimes. So that's what energy cords are. That's how you can release them and not let them grow back. Um, Again, this time of year, especially with all the celebrations, and because this year especially is such a weird year, and we have compounding grief, compounding depression, compounding sadness, right? That it's super important to just notice, like, am I thinking about this person, going back to this person because I'm feeling all these other things and I don't want to feel them, and I want to use this person like as an escape? Right? And just noticing, am I the one throwing off the cords or are they? And what can I do about it to release this and make it so that it's no longer, I'm not sucking anybody's energy and I'm not allowing somebody else to suck my energy.
Right.
Any other thoughts, things we didn't cover?
I think that you covered most of it, yeah. I mean, I think we'll do a little research on the, positive negative combo if that's a thing. I'm curious, and we can do a little mini follow-up or something, but, um, I think it's a good topic, and it's definitely something to be aware of because they're sneaky, like you said, even just like random exes that I haven't thought about at all. And I mean, I don't know what it means for me personally that they've literally been coming out of the woodwork. It's weird, but how I choose to respond to that, I think is very telling because there's been probably past me who would have been like, oh, they're still in, and I would just, or out of curiosity, want to like, okay, how are you? And now I'm like, you know what? No, I'm not even gonna go there. It's not what's good for me. Not
Right.
out of like, I'm not bitter, I'm not angry, I'm not any of that. It's just I'm not gonna let that drain my energy because I'm fully aware now that's exactly what will happen.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it takes some resiliency and some strength, right? To be able to release them, because sometimes we get addicted to that drama.
Right.
And it is distracting to what we really want in our lives, but we get literally like, oh, I love that. And we don't
Right.
even, we're like, no, I really don't like that. Yeah, you do, because you keep going back to it.
Exactly. What is having as evidence of wanting is that I forget now which author it was that I got that from, but I love that concept. Like if it shows up, it's like you somehow, at least on a subconscious level, did want that. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I think the other piece of it for me is being like a recovering people pleaser, where I feel bad if I don't respond to someone that like, oh, they're gonna think I'm like, I can still send you love even if I don't want to have any sort of communication or relationship with you. As a human being, I will send you love, but I'm not going to participate.
Right. Yeah. Well, the whole people pleasing thing, that's a whole other episode that we can talk about.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
about that next, but yeah, that's a whole other thing. But the beginning part of that is taking a stand and saying, I'm no longer going to allow this person to suck my energy, and I'm no longer going to be the person that is sucking energy from other people.
Mhm.
It's hard to do for a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Happy holidays.
Right. So over the holidays, like if you are spending it, in with less people than you'd like to, spending it by yourself, you find that you're going down the rabbit hole of like, what was me and why did I break up with that person, or I missed this person, or somebody else is, coming up in your head. Just like check in and be like, literally get quiet, close your eyes. Right? Are there any energetic cords between us that need to be released? Right? That I want to release. Is like I said, sometimes we want to hold on to them because we like the drama, and then
Mhm.
just get honest and real with yourself. Right? Do I like the drama of having this because I feel like I have nothing else in my life? I mean, how many times do we stay with somebody, right? Just because we're like, well, I got nothing else. Right? Just notice that, right? Because that's not healthy for you or the other person. Loving towards yourself, it's not loving towards yourself nor the other person as well. Um, and if you feel like after the holidays and you're like, gosh, I can't get over this person, they keep popping back in your life, reach out. Like we would love to help you release those. I mean, there may be a hidden heart wall that you have between the two of you. There may be some cords, there may be some other stuff, but this is a good start just to get clear. And if you're having trouble getting over somebody, or somebody just keeps showing back up in your life, you might have an energetic cord. So hope that's helpful for you. We'd love to hear from you, what your thoughts are about this, if you've ever experienced this, and we will talk to you next time. Have a great holiday if you're listening before the holidays, and if after, have a great day. Bye.